It's a holiday, long weekend. There's more of them coming up this summer, so I'm stealing Locked On Eagles' plan. We're assigning songs to Florida Gators, only here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. Happy Monday, happy Memorial Day. I'm Brandon Olson. You can find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find my written work with Whole Nine Sports and GiantsCountryWestside.com. Like I said, today's more of a laid back episode. Like, we're just gonna have a little fun with it. We're gonna break it down by going through the stars of the team, the non-star starters, and then the trench warriors. That's how we're breaking it down. Where basically I have to assign a song to these players from. It's a Spotify playlist that I have called Work, because that's what I listen to when I write and what I listen to when I prep for the show. So I figured we'd go through that. I got 5 people in each section. It's fun. Don't get upset with it. I don't care. But first up, obviously, we're starting with Anthony Richardson. I said we're starting with the star players. That he's as star as you get. So we're starting with Anthony Richardson, and he was a little tough one. So I kind of punted on it. I said that Anthony Richardson is the equivalent to any Drake song. Because the way it is with Drake now is like every time a song comes out, whether you love him or you hate him, you either love the song or you are absolutely sick of hearing about him. And I feel like at this point, people either love Anthony Richardson or they're absolutely sick of hearing about him. So as much as I love AR, he is any Drake song. And I think that is the best way to put it. Next up, we have Gervon Dexter, obviously the interior defensive lineman, pass rusher, and new father. So that's really cool. With him, I picked out "Under the Sun" by J. Cole, Lute, and DaBaby, mainly because that song starts out strong. like it starts off on a banger, just a nice little sample, and then it just keeps getting better and keeps getting better. And like DaBaby's verse is insane towards the end. It's "Under the Sun" for me. I think it's a fantastic song. One of my favorites, one of my most played, probably. So Gervon Dexter is getting that. It's a great song. It starts out strong and it keeps getting better. And that's kind of how I think we're going to see this year go for Gervon Dexter. I think he's going to start out strong and then just kind of keep shouldering the load throughout the remainder of the season. Then we have Brenton Cox Jr. I just realized also Anthony Richardson is the only offensive player on in this segment. He's the only offensive player in this stars segment. Brenton Cox Jr. is up next. "Scared Money" by YG, J. Cole, and Moneybagg Yo. And I mean, do I even have to explain it? Like, it's a fantastic song, or at least I think it's a fantastic song. J. Cole's verse on it is sick. And I mean, "Scared Money," Billy Napier, Brenton Cox Jr., our guy here. And I mean, I feel like he's got a certain attitude to him that fits this song. And so that's why I was like, Brenton Cox Jr., you're "Scared Money." Simple as that. Like he's the guy that we have representing this, which is also just like awesome timing as to when the song got released and when Billy Napier got hired. So yeah, Brenton Cox Jr. is getting "Scared Money" by YG, J. Cole, and Moneybagg Yo. So we have Gervon Dexter, Brenton Cox Jr., and now Rashad Torrance II is up next. And I think this one might be my favorite song to assign to a player. Again, this is from a specific playlist. This isn't just like any song on the planet. But for Rashad Torrance II, I picked the "Ante Up" remix by M.O.P., Busta Rhymes, Remy Ma, Teflon, Lil Flim, and Billy Dance, because the song itself, if you've never listened to it, you should. I might make a playlist. I might make a playlist with all these songs just in this order and just let y'all listen to it and kind of see if you can kind of get where my vibe is going with everything. Because why not? But yeah, it's Rashad Torrance's "Ante Up" remix, mainly because the song off the jump, by the way, has attitude, um, has swagger, and if you don't know the song, is about robbing people every now and then, just a little bit here and there. And I figured, it's hard to kind of work that song into most players' play style. But with Rashad Torrance, last season he led the Gators in interceptions and takeaways. So I was like, well, why wouldn't he be he's the one that forces all these turnovers. He forces these takeaways. Why wouldn't he be the guy that gets the song about robbing? Essentially, I don't know. That's just my thought process on it. They talk about snatching chains, robbing jewels. He's doing his thing over there. He's being that ball hawking safety. And the last star player I put here, I put Ventrell Miller, and I think a lot of people will like this one. It's "Won't Back Down" by Tom Petty, and I'm not playing when I say that's on my playlist. Like I said, every song that I mentioned here is on that playlist. It's got about 485 songs, so it goes fairly deep. But yeah, it's "Won't Back Down" by Tom Petty, and my reasoning for doing it is I had to include the song, obviously. Um, that's Florida's kind of made that song their own and taken it to the next step. So "Won't Back Down" had to be on this list. I didn't really care who it went to as a star, but then I was like, who is the most heart, soul, and effort guy on this list? Because I feel like that kind of exemplifies, or that kind of resonates with being the song that kind of represents the Florida Gators with "Won't Back Down," and it had to be Ventrell Miller. I don't think there's a better song or a better player to represent that song. So Ventrell Miller is the guy that I gave "Won't Back Down" to. I'm glad it happened in the star segment, but again, I was kind of just like, who exemplifies this song? Uh this was the first song I assigned. I was like, well, this is in the playlist, so it's going definitely into the show. So Ventrell Miller's baseball season is well underway. The NBA finals are set, and things are getting a bit intense pretty much everywhere right now. With sports gambling, you can go with, you could bet on team over unders, conference champions, national champions, Heisman winners, everything. BetOnline.net is your place to do that. It's your number one source for all of your betting needs and sports information. And it doesn't even have to be just sports centric. You can bet on, I don't know, finances, politics, aliens invading, reality TV, award shows, everything. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn all about the trends and action. Check out BetOnline. It's where the game starts. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. Now we're taking a look at the non-star starters for this little fun song assignment episode. I don't know what to call it, man. I don't have a name for it. But first up is Xavier Henderson. And this one was the easiest one to make, just because obviously it's Xavier Henderson. And the song I picked was X Gonna Give It To You by DMX, which, I mean, could you really get any easier than that? That was suggested, by the way, by Zach Cohen on Twitter, Zach Cohen FB, who is, he's been on the show a couple times before. He's awesome. We've had a blast with him. But yeah, X Gonna Give It To You by DMX, which is awesome because there's like 12 DMX songs on the playlist. And so eventually someone was probably going to get it. But it went to Xavier Henderson here with X Gonna Give It To You. And obviously he is Xavier Henderson. So X Gonna Give It To You, him. Just a perfect matchup that was incredibly seamless. Xavier Henderson is getting X Gonna Give It To You. Next up is Trey Dean III, who actually this one, by the way, I mentioned I have 5 people in each one. I have 6 people in this one, but I paired 2 of them. So we have Trey Dean III right now. That is "Numbers on the Board" by Pusha T. And the reason I picked that is because Trey Dean is someone who is going to be used so in so many ways this year, where he's going to be getting the tackles for a loss, probably a sack or two, probably a pick or two, probably a forced fumble. He's going to be doing so much where he is a stat sheet stuffer, and it's like, well, ballers, we put numbers on the boards, and so that's why trading the third is getting numbers on the board by Pusha T. For me, it's also just a banger, probably my favorite Pusha T song around. So I was like, yeah, trading, one of my favorite Gators, one of my favorite songs by Pusha T, and I was like, that's that's just perfect. That's chef's kiss right there. Next up, I put our how do I put this for people without getting my head chewed off? I put who I think will be our starting outside corners this year, and by that I put Jason Marshall Jr. and Avery Helm. Um, I gave them one song, but it's by two artists, and so I picked "Wants and Needs" by Drake and Lil Baby because, I mean, first of all, great song by two uh, very successful, very talented artists. I don't care what you think about necessarily their talent; they are proven successful. So if you disagree with it, kick rocks. The numbers disagree with you. So Jason Marshall Jr. and Avery Helm, they're kind of up there because Drake and Lil Baby. There's people who kind of don't like them. Uh, I do, but then Jason Marshall Jr. and Avery Helm, there's kind of people who don't like them, but they're great. There's numbers stick up for themselves and defend themselves there. So I was like, this is an easy one. This is one of the easiest songs, and also it's a phenomenal song. I almost just dropped an F bomb on you. It's a phenomenal song where I was like, well, it's a banger of a song, insane hook, great feature, and it worked out perfectly. Again, I kind of really like how the non-star starters section is kind of rolling in. I don't know. I just feel like it's synchronicity right here. Next up is Justin Shorter, and I feel like there's going to be quite a few people who don't know this song or even the next one. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, but for Justin Shorter, I picked "Nobody Speak" by DJ Shadow and Run the Jewels. Um, which, if you don't listen to these playlists, by the way, if you have kids in the car, but "Nobody Speak" by DJ Shadow and Run the Jewels is such an aggressive song with a nasty feel to it. And that's about as well as you can describe Justin Shorter. He's that big, physical, nasty X receiver that everybody's like, oh, that's the throwback over. Like he is the throwback receiver over there. I probably could have picked a throwback song, but I was like, you know what? Like Nobody Speak it's very aggressive from the jump. It's also, I think, good throughout. So I was like, you know what? Justin Shorter is getting Nobody Speak, aggressive song, nasty demeanor, nasty feel to it, and I think that is one of the best possible ways that you could describe Justin Shorter's game. I was like, that works perfectly. The last person in the non-star starters section is Montreal Johnson. And I realized it's a little weird to be like, oh, yeah, this guy's never played for us before. But we saw what he could do last year with Louisiana. We most of us have gone back and watched him, whether you guys have watched highlights or full tape, all 22, don't care. Montreal Johnson, I picked Pause Play by Preem. You might better know Preem by his old stage name of P Rain. And I picked Pause Play because I was like, well, I mean, this one's a little bit of a stretch, I'll say. I picked Pause Play because of Montreal Johnson's start ability, so he can pause play really quick. It's a banger that's, yeah, I'd say has a bit of an up tempo to it, and Montreal Johnson we know is fast. So I was like, well, I'll pick Pause Play by Preem here. So to wrap up the non-star starter section, we've got Xavier Henderson taking X Gonna Give It To You by DMX. Trading the third, taking numbers on the board by Pusha T. Avery Helm and Jason Marshall Jr. for Wants and Needs by Drake and Lil Baby. That's a lot of ands, by the way. Avery Helm and Jason Marshall Jr. Wants and Needs, Drake and Lil Baby. Then we got Justin Shorter taking Nobody Speak by DJ Shadow and Run the Jewels. And then we got Montreal Johnson taking Pause Play by Preem, formerly known as Pete Rain. And we're about to look at the Trench Warriors to wrap up this little like I said, this fun episode. Again, it's a holiday. I'm not gonna go through this insane thing where people are on vacation enjoying your time. It's just going to be a fun, easy listen here. So we're about to get into the Trench Warriors, but first, a quick word from our sponsors. Now, to wrap up today's show, we are taking a look at the Trench Warriors for this assign a song assignment. I'm sorry I didn't come up with a name for it, but whatever. Princely Uma and Mia Lean is the first guy on this list. I picked the song "Home" by Mike Dimes because first off, Mike Dimes from Texas, Princely Uma and Mia Lean from Texas. That's it. No, but also just I think such a banger. I think it's a fantastic song. Princely Uma and Mia Lean is someone that I think will kind of outplay expectations that people might have for him or might not have for him. And when I first listened to Home, I was like, well, it's whatever. And then I listened to it and I was like, okay, all right, it's got a little spice to it. So I feel like that's a solid mix with Prince Liam and Maylene. So I was like, Home by Mike Dimes. Next up, this one is strictly for fun. There's another one on here that's also just strictly for fun, but that'll be the last one. Don't worry. But this one is Osiris Torrance, who again, similar to Montreal Johnson from last segment, where you can go, well, we've never seen this guy play for the Gators outside of the spring game. Obviously, doesn't count. But we saw Osiris Torrance last year with Louisiana, and he was one of the most dominant offensive linemen in college football. And now he's coming to Gainesville to hopefully do the same thing. So Osiris Torrance, I had to pick this song. If you don't like the song, if you don't know the song, I don't care. You could tell by the name why I picked it. The name of the song is "Took Her to the O" by King Von. First of all, fantastic song. But also like "Took Her to the." I even wrote in my notes. I was like, "Took Her to the O." Cyrus. Like I was just like, I have to get this one in there. I think it was just too perfect of a lineup with the name and the good song. I mean, it's also fairly aggressive, and you're playing the offensive line, specifically guard. You're going to be a pretty aggressive dude. So I was like, all right, took her to the O, King Von. That one was easy money. Next up is Richard Garage. I gave him "Go Get It" by T.I. And I mean, it starts kind of exactly how we expect this offseason to, or well, how this offseason should have gone for Richard Garage. It starts with "Got a grind won't stop, hustle won't quit." And I feel like that's kind of what we expected from Richard Garage this year, to kind of take that next step to be that true stalwart tackle for this team, and to kind of get himself prepped for NFL tape. So I was like, all right, "Go Get It" by T.I. The entire song is just about, how hard he's working, how hard he's doing this. And I was just like, well, Richard Garage, I don't know what it is about him. Like, I don't know Richard Garage, but it seems to me like he's the type where he's like, well, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna just keep doing it until I get it right. So I feel like Richard Garage kind of earned "Go Get It" by T.I. Next up is the only rock song on this list, and it is Kingsley Eguakun getting "Heavy Is the Head" by the Zach Brown Band, which I do like this song. Don't listen to it that much. I tend to not listen to rock or country or anything. But it is on the playlist for when I do feel like listening to it. Like I said, 485 songs. But Kingsley Eguakun, he's a veteran leader. He is in charge of the offensive line. We know that as the center. I mean, we saw it in the Kentucky game last year where it's like, well, if you're not playing well, the team's not playing well. So I was like, you know what? Heavy is the head that wears the crown, obviously, is for the Zach Brown Band. So I was like, Kingsley, as the center, you got to get that no matter who it was, honestly, at center. They were probably getting this song just because it flows perfectly well. And the last song that we have here is it's for Desmond Watson, who, I get it. Everybody on this list was a starter or projected starter, and Desmond Watson is not. Like, he's a projected rotational player. I picked "Ham" by Jay-Z and Kanye West. And hear me out. Desmond Watson, big man. Like he is a big man. Ham. Desmond Watson, he is always full. Like yes, when we watched him, I gave him perfect criticism of, or perfectly acceptable criticism of he doesn't get enough push. He doesn't get enough movement along the line. But you could tell he's full go. He's never like not trying. He's just not technically refined enough, not strong enough yet, whatever it might be. So Desmond Watson, he's a big man, Ham. Always full go. Ham. And if you don't know Ham, it stands for hard as a M blank blank. Figure that one out yourself if you don't know it. And also for Ham, he is Spencer's jerky athlete. And I know Spencer's mascot's the cow or whatever. But I was just like, you know what? Ham, jerky, Desmond Watson. That is our answer, and that is the end of this episode. So thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more on your Florida Gators. Now make your second listen Locked On SEC, hosted by Chris Gordy of Sports 790. The best daily coverage on the Southeastern Conference that you will ever find is right there with Locked On SEC. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olson. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find my written work with Whole Nine Sports. That is WHOLENINE Sports and Giants Country of SI.com. And I will see you all tomorrow.